Good morning, my wild and beautiful friends. The air is crisp. It is rapidly turning to fall around here. I thought I'd cozy up with a cup of coffee and share with you this super simple baklava recipe. Keep on watching to see how we make it. Okay, first thing we're going to do is melt a stick and about a tablespoon of plant-based butter. I've also got this package of Phillo that I've bought at the grocery store. You can usually find it in the freezer section by like pie crusts and such. There are 2 sleeves of Phillo in here. I'm just going to use the one. We're going to make kind of a smaller batch, but you can of course double it and use both of these sleeves and make like a full cookie sheet size. This is about a half a cookie sheet size pan. So our butter is melted. I've got a little silicone brush here. I find brushing it on makes it a little bit easier than trying to do it with a spoon or something. So I'm just going to brush some butter all along the bottom of the pan to get it nice and greased, and then we'll start laying out our Phillo. So like I said, I found the Phillo in our freezer section, so I just let this sit in the fridge overnight. A couple hours will do it though, just to let it thaw out so you can unroll it easily. It does dry out very quickly, so I find that it's easy to work with, but you got to kind of work quick, otherwise it starts to get a little bit brittle. So essentially what I'm going to do is lay down 2 layers, do a spread of butter, another 2 layers, spread of butter, and try to make it as even as possible. If your Phillo breaks, don't worry, you can kind of just Tetris it in. The way that this pan is, it's almost the right size, but not quite. So I'm starting with a layer this way. I'm going to fold down all the edges, and then I'm going to take pieces, as you will see, and lay them the opposite way so we get kind of an even smattering of Phillo dough. That's a technical term. So hopefully this gives you a good idea without you having to watch it for the entire process. So I'm just doing this with half of that roll of Phillo, and then we'll start working on our filling, which is incredibly simple. So we're using pistachio for this baklava recipe. I just bought 2 of these 6-ounce lightly salted pre-shelled pistachios to make it easy on us. They're so beautiful and green. I'm just going to, of course, taste test and then pop all of these into our blender. I'm just going to pulse our pistachios like so for maybe about 15 seconds until we come up with almost like a sand-like powder with little chunks. This is perfect. And then we're just going to spread that mixture right on top of our stacked and buttered Phillo. Nice and thick layer. I am going to reserve about 1/8 of a cup for decorating on top when we're done. And I'm just going to use my hands to spread out the nuts and make sure we have a nice even layer. And we'll be ready to add the rest of our dough. The first layer that you do after you do your nut mixture is a little bit on the slippery side. It doesn't stick as well as placing it right on butter. So you got to kind of be ginger with it when you're spreading your butter. But once you get that first layer on, everything sticks really easily and the process moves along just like before. For me, this is around the time that my phyllo, if it's not covered, starts to get a little bit brittle and break up. So if you have that happen, I just try to put the smaller pieces in the middle of our stack of phyllo and then make sure I have a long, nice piece for the top to make everything cohesive. So I'm just going to keep doing this process. So that's pretty much it. You've got yourself some baklava. The trickiest part comes now before you bake it. I've got a layer of butter on top of our baklava, but be sure that you cut it before you bake it. It gets so crispy that you'll end up with just baklava crumbs if you try to cut it afterwards. So I'm just going through with an up and down motion with a very sharp knife to cut out our baklava shape. You can do whatever your heart desires. I'm just going with a basic rectangle, and then I'm going to go diagonal to kind of make little triangles. And it looks quite beautiful pretty easily. If you want to get really technical, you can bring a ruler, but I am not that technical. So once I've got our lines cut on our baklava, I'm going to pop this little guy into a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 35 minutes. And while it's baking, I'm going to make a very simple syrup to pour on top to glaze everything and make it nice and sweet and delicious. All you need is some sugar, water, and lemon juice. I'm kind of going light on this. You can go a little heavier if you want it more sweet, but I find you don't need a ton to make it taste really amazing. So I'm using a half a cup of organic sugar with a quarter cup of water. We're going to let that melt down and dissolve on medium heat. It just takes a few minutes. And once our sugar has dissolved, I am going to turn off the heat and add the juice of half of a lemon. This angle I thought was going to work. It surely did not, but you get the gist of what I'm doing here. Okay, it's been about 35 minutes. The way that you know your baklava is done is if it's nice and golden and it doesn't stay down when you press it, it should pop back up. So while it is warm, I'm going to keep the sound on for this one. We're going to take our warm syrup and pour it all over our baklava. I'm going to try to concentrate in those little cracks. Oh yeah, it's going to sizzle on the bottom. I hope you can hear it. It smells amazing in here. So I'm just going to go through all of this simple syrup, pour all around. It's going to ooze into every little crevice, make everything so sweet and delicious. And I'm going to do my very best to not touch it until it totally cools down. So Olive and I are headed for a dog walk because I definitely cannot be trusted. So our baklava is cooled. Olive has had a doggy walk. I'm just going to take this extra pistachio and kind of drizzle it everywhere. I was kind of trying to go for a pattern, and then I just realized I'm just going to sprinkle it everywhere. Looks beautiful. Add some more texture. It sticks because of that sugar. You guys, I hope you try this. This is the perfect fall treat. I thought I'd do it a little early because I think it's such a fun thing to bring to a Halloween party or even to a Thanksgiving dinner. It's something a little different, really simple to make, but it definitely packs a punch in the wow factor department. So I hope you love this as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Cheers.